at a hotel room here. But my dedication towards this show won't end. So I was at Clint Reptiles earlier today. I can talk more about it as we go further. But welcome to the Reptile Show Reporter, scheduled live show. Okay, so it wasn't a reptile show that I went to, but it was a show for me and something I really did and enjoyed. It is Thursday, 8 p.m. on the East. At least that's what my phone is telling me. Actually, my phone is telling me it's 6 p.m. because I'm in Mountain Time. My body thinks it's like 5, but yes, my new daylight savings time protest continues. I will continue to protest this. I think Bill's behind me on this one. We don't really need it for daylight savings time. There's no reason to have that. With me today is Bill Strand, the headmaster of the Community Academy. He's back from his sabbatical. He was back last week. How are you, Bill?
I'm doing great and doing my best to get caught up.
What time is it there?
It's just after 5 o'clock.
All right. So today I have Kris with me with 3D printing. Oh, it's iNaBoX 3D, correct?
Correct.
All right. Kris and I met at a reptile show a couple weeks ago, and he agreed to come on and talk about both his adventures in at reptile shows and 3D printing. So we'll get to that in a minute here. But Bill, any announcements?
Nothing in particular. This week on the Chameleon Academy, we're going to be talking about hydration cycles and getting things set up for a deep dive into fogging. Yes, no, why in the next coming weeks. But that's all I got.
I forgot to get the chat out again here. All right, so here we go. Steph Payne is here, as always. Thank you, Steph. Two Turtle Tom is here. Let's see what else. I'm going to close this here. James Cross.
Yep.
That's probably our 3 Musketeers, Bill, for this show on Thursday. There's a lot more people out there watching. So thank you, everyone. Make sure you remember that if you're on Facebook, that you actually put your name in there, because we can't tell, because Facebook protects your privacy, even though later on we could go back and see who it was. And
all we have to do is give Facebook a quarter and they'll go ahead and give us all your information.
Yeah, exactly. But we're not willing to do that, right? All right. So anyways, so no announcements. We've talked to the people who are on. So I'm just going to say what happened today a little bit briefly, and then we'll go into the main topic. So today I was in Springsville, Utah, and I went to Clint's reptile room. You know, Clint Laidlaw, the person who's Clint's Reptiles on YouTube, very famous person, has a room where you can go in, and he actually toured me through the room. He took my wife and my daughter, Abigail, who's my number 4 child, and we went through the room, and boy, we had a great time. We took all kinds of pictures, all kinds of videos. I was so busy with him and hanging out that I forgot to even go live. I was planning on going live and showing everybody, but it was the middle of the day, so I probably wouldn't have picked up anybody anyway, so it takes a little while for people to get on. But let me show you some graphics. There's the front. His place is a building that was built. There's actually 2 buildings built next to each other, and the roof and the floor were added to make this building. And it was an alley at one point. So, but it's beautiful on the inside. There is me and him. Although this picture looks like I put myself in there, that's actually one of his reticulated pythons, his super dwarf reticulated pythons from the guy out in Pennsylvania. And it's around my neck, but it's not giving me any problems. There's the place where he does his show from. So that's, when you watch his show on YouTube and you look in the back, that's the back area where you see. So I took a picture of that, made sure you got in there for me. And one last one, and we'll get back to the topic at hand. There is my wife. My brain's going right. My wife, Jennifer, my daughter, Abigail. And she's standing next to me here, looking at me like, "Oh no, you don't know my name anymore." No,
it's like you actually put me up in public.
I know, but you need to get closer because they can't see us here. But give me just a sec here. And there, no, she's like, you're not even on screen.
I wasn't planning.
Oh, you weren't planning on being on screen. Okay. All right, we're here. She's here with me. Up there's her arm. That's so. What a nice arm. Good hand, lady. There, wife. Anyways, I am like overjoyed, excited, and happy, and I'm bubbling, and I just can't contain myself. I know no one could tell, but exactly where I'm at. So, anyways, back to the topic at hand. Kris,
yes.
What can you tell us about yourself?
Always kind of been into reptiles since I was a kid, as per usual. Catching things in my backyard, going down to Kentucky and catching things. And then in 2005, I started vending reptile shows in Columbus, Ohio. And eventually, around 2019, the government said that was too much money, so I had to file for an LLC. Yeah, they don't consider it a hobby when you bring in X amount of money. So I turned it into an LLC, and then I basically started 3D printing accessories because I didn't want to pay other people for them, is what it came down to. And I've been doing it for 3D printing since 2016.
Wow.
And I make like reptile perches for like green tree pythons or other geckos, all sorts of different things.
Probably chameleon cages as well, or
anything that climbs can really use them for the most part. Because at first I strictly just made them only for emerald tree boas and Amazon tree boas and green tree pythons. But most of my customers have geckos and chameleons and other things. Just it's something to climb on. So that's why I think they're purchasing them, and makes for a good alternative than, I guess, just putting in like pieces of PVC and stuff. So
congratulations on the positive income. The government keeps telling me that it can't be a business if you lose money every year. So
right.
They call it a hobby when you lose money, but when you make money, it's a business. It doesn't
exactly.
make any sense. But nonetheless, we won't get into accounting or anything like that. Bill, you have a question I can see.
Yeah. Is that a Blue Yeti?
Huh? Yes, it is.
All right.
It's just a black Yeti.
Yeah, okay. With a pop fill. Okay. Why do you have gear like that?
I like to just do everything myself, and I like to do I get interested in a hobby for about 3 or 4 weeks, and I buy all the cool gear for it, and then I just forget about it later. So
do you have a podcast?
I do not, actually. Okay. I bought these probably 3 years ago. This is my first time ever using it.
Be careful. Okay. Bill likes to lure people into doing podcasts. So right now, you need to be careful with what you say, because you might end up going home saying that you didn't mean to say on
right.
You want to do a podcast, but you did anyways.
No, that's good gear. I'm impressed. I like that.
Yeah. Well, my wife wanted to do. She was doing audiobook reading, so she would read a book for Audible, and she needed something decent. And I was like, well, I want to get myself something. And I got this. I didn't want to spend a lot of money. Hers is much more sophisticated, but I don't get to mess with any of that.
So Two Turtle Tom says he loves your Blue Yeti, or his Blue Yeti. So he does actually have at least a show. So he's got reason to have it. His show's on Wednesdays in between Bill's and my show. So and let me add a few things. So Steph says she loves to watch Clint's show. And Two Turtle Tom says, I think Clint probably sleeps in a collared shirt and tie. I don't know. It wasn't that early in the morning, but he really was in it. And actually, in order to show me the inside of a mouth of a snapping turtle, he actually put his tie up to the turtle's mouth and let it try to snap at it. And it didn't snap at it, but it opened its mouth. He has a turtle that is so tame. It crawled up into his lap. I'm going to have to show you people at some point. It actually crawled right up into his lap and sat with him. Abigail was there, and she rubbed its tail, and it didn't bite her. But nonetheless, back to the topic at hand. I'm sorry for interrupting. Actually, I'm not interrupting. The chat's interrupting. So go ahead.
No worries.
Well, no, yeah, I was thinking about getting a Blue Yeti. Right now, I'm doing ATR Audio Technica ATR 2500. So, okay, there we go. Tech chat.
As long as we're talking about microphones, I don't even know what kind this is, but I do have one. So, Pro R or something like that. Anyway,
I actually use Audio Technica for my wireless guitar for my amp. So I actually really like their gear.
So you're in a band, or what are you doing with the wireless guitar?
I picked up an instrument when I was a kid, and so I chose guitar, and I learned how to play guitar. And then I in high school, I played in bands then, so I bought like the wireless hookup for your amp to your electric guitar, and yeah, that's so I've just had that gear since probably about year 2000. But yeah, I haven't played professionally like in a setting and since year 2000.
Okay. All right. So it's been a little while. So tell us about what you were vending before you did 3D printing. What were you vending?
Back then it was whatever I could pretty much get my hands on. I breeding ball pythons at the time, but only really getting nothing, trying to get that albino. That spider had just shown up like a couple of years back, and it was going for like $50,000. It was insane. Boa constrictors, mostly red tail boa constrictors though. I got my first emerald tree boa in 2006, and I eventually bred her in 2010. She produced quite well, and that's when I started needing a way to perch the neonates. And it took me a while. I was just using coat hangers for the longest time, and then in 2016 I bought a 3D printer, and I was all like, I could make something just to put in the shoebox. And I did, and I made these, and I make all sorts of different ones too now, because I even have stackable ones, so you can just make them as tall as you want. And the legs are only made out of PEX piping. So if at some point in time you need it to be taller or shorter, you could just cut the pipe yourself, or just go out and buy some PEX at any hardware store and cut it to the length you need. And I make them very versatile, water bowl holders. And then I also have like mountable water bowl holders that I make too. And a lot of people with the jungle carpet pythons and other species of carpet pythons like these hide mounts, like mounted to the top of their cages. So you just screw this into the top of your cage, and you can slide this in there, and jungle carpets use it really well.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. That way you don't have to like build it. I've done it before in the past with my carpet pythons, where I've built like these square, plywood boxes up in the corners, because they always wanted to go up high and hide it in a box. So I was just like, well, this is so much easier,
Yeah, sure.
And it always looks so bad in the cage. Yeah.
All right. I don't know. Is everyone else getting interference? I maybe it's my
Just
hotel room. I see. It seems like the screen keeps shaking or actually flipping through. But I apologize for that. But I wanted to do this, and you know what? I'm going to turn off the VPN thing here. Let's see if that does it.
He's going to disconnect because he turned off the VPN. Yeah, he did.
All right.
Yeah, he turned off his VPN, so it completely disconnected him, and now it's going to reconnect him back.
Okay, so he's going to be a little while, but you know what? We're going to go ahead and keep going on here.
All right.
And
all right. Hey, I lost my phone.
You know what? For one brief moment, I was in charge.
For one moment.
There we go. This was your show at one point, Bill.
My 15 seconds of glory.
All right. I know I lost myself here, but are you guys still there? You're still there.
We're still here.
Yeah.
You're not moving on my screen, but I'm moving on mine. So I can see you on the left panel. So I guess everyone on the show can actually see you that way. But I'm gonna pull you guys out and then bring you back in, just so you're there for sure. And that's not working.
Well, we all see each other. I see everybody moving.
Yeah, I've
got that doesn't make a difference. So anyways, I tried to turn off the VPN so that I wasn't slowing things down. It looks like it fixed it, but still having some trouble. So, all right, I guess I just have to rearrange us in different ways. But let me see if I can do that now. I'm not going to try. All right. Anyways, back to the problems with live video, huh?
Right.
Well, I am wondering.
Tom says everyone's moving to his screen, so I will just take advantage of the fact that I'm moving and everyone else is moving. Just to let you know that this is a shirt that you can only get from being at Clint's Reptiles. So I'm going to proudly wear that. It's my Mick Zoo shirt is underneath, but I figured I had it in the van. I put it on for the show. Actually, Clint joined the YouTube or I subscribed to the YouTube channel, so he could actually be one of the people on here and just quietly watching us. So we probably should behave. Actually, it was an awesome day, and I doubt he has a time for us. He's really busy with all his children and his family, but nonetheless, it was an awesome day there. So, well, anyways, let's get back to the topic at hand, Kris.
Yes.
What are you vending at the shows now?
Right now, I take a variety of different 3D printed perches and reptile accessories. I also build steel tip probes for the vivarium electronic thermostats because they don't offer one for some reason. So all theirs are rubber tips. So I buy my own materials and I build my own probes for those thermostats. Wow. So I vend those as well. I have a background in engineering. I can reverse engineer just about anything and get my hands on. I went to college for engineering, so.
All right, there you go.
Yeah,
so
I got.
is this your hobby or is it your day job?
It's both.
Both. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm constantly 3D printing, putting orders out. I also breed my own snakes, and my wife would like me to get rid of more of them. But yeah, so that doesn't happen often.
Well, man, you ought to know the adage: "Happy wife, happy life." So be careful there, my friend.
What platforms do you sell things on?
I am on Etsy and eBay currently at this time.
So Etsy, okay. And
yeah.
So how do I find your shop? What's it called?
On Etsy, it's iNaBoX 3D.
iNaBoX 3D.
Yes. I believe if you type in reptile perch, even in Google, I'm like one of the first things. Yes, I do custom work.
Right. So Kris is answering, do you do custom work? I'm looking forward for a specific part for old oceanic systems, lizard lounge, vivarium. So, wow. Okay. And Two Turtle Tom actually goes to the Medina show from time to time. So you guys need to hook up together and talk. The show for Medina is probably it's like it's not this weekend, but next weekend, right?
I actually have a calendar that I literally have to check every week just to figure out where I'm going. So I'm not sure where I'm going this weekend as of right now.
Where are you going this weekend? Do you know?
I'd have to go run upstairs and check because I'll literally start planning tomorrow, packing everything up.
So you go to a show every weekend then?
I pretty much try to, yeah.
Okay. What shows do you go to?
I hit the Fremont show. I'll also hit I'm going to start the Perrysburg show, Glass City, Medina, and Columbus, Taylor show in Michigan, and the Detroit Mega Reptile show.
So the All Ohio show is this Saturday. I'm thinking about seeing if I can make it. I'm not sure that I have.
Is that the one that is the Columbus? Yeah. So that's where I'll be.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I think I'm too many hours. I'm 27 hours from home, and I like to sleep from time to time. So I don't know if I can make it to the Saturday show. Even if I just drive out of here after we get off the show and start driving, I may not make it. But with all the rest stops and what have you, but I was trying to do that this week. But okay, so you're at all those shows every weekend. You got a show.
I pretty much try. I don't always make every show due to some circumstances. Sometimes they overlap depending, especially the out of state shows. So I try to keep myself busy that way.
Yeah. All right. Abigail seems to have a problem with the whole situation where we're at here. She's was excited today to be at Clint's and now it's boring and we're not driving. So she's not happy. That's why she's grabbing in the background. But unfortunately, we're here in a hotel room, so there's no other way for her to go. But usually she joins the show as and laughing and having a good time. Bill, what do you want to ask Kris?
Well, I want to ask, what is your plan as far as this business? Is this 3D printing something that you are just going to be a side thing, or do you plan on expanding it? How serious is it?
Right now, it's not as serious as what I would call the snake side of things, because that's where the LLC is registered under Sandusky Serpents LLC. Sell a few Amazon basins, and then the government gets involved. When you bring in a month's a year's salary in a month, that forced my hand on the LLC, because I was really skirting it for a while there. But iNaBoX 3D is just something I've kind of recently started advertising and branding. Before, it was just me making these things and pretty much giving them away. People would buy a snake, I'd give them one. I'd ship it separately, than the animal, but I'd always make sure they'd have one. And then I started taking them to shows because people were interested in them. And then somebody at a show was like, you should make them stackable so I could put them in like a tall one. So then I started building the stackable ones, and it just kind of has been growing from there pretty rapidly. I usually only charge about $10 a perch.
So Two Turtle Tom says he's found plans online for 3D printing for the thing he was talking about. Are you able to take plans from online, or is that?
It depends on how the person saved the STL files. You can have like a Creative Commons license on it. But you can also make that, non-commission, which means you can't make any money off of that.
Well, that's not good.
But right. I personally, I'm a big believer in open software and just open sourcing things. So all of my 3D models are available online for anybody to print themselves if they own a 3D printer. Now, they can't profit off of it because that's how the licensing's set up. They can remix it, they can change it, but if they use my source material, my source object file, they can't legally sell it. And I have actually had a few people on Amazon right now, not Amazon, Etsy, literally selling my product, right? They're exactly how I am, and there's nothing really I can do about it, but that's
Bill goes through that in the Reptile Entrepreneur. I think even the latest or second latest was what do you do when people steal your stuff?
Yep.
And what do you think about that, Bill? What was your I remember, but what was your conclusion?
Well, the conclusion is that if you are doing a 3D printed product, there is nothing you can do to stop somebody from doing the exact same thing other than patenting it. But I mean, I'm saying this, I'm sure Kris knows all of this, but if you do make something and you put it on Etsy, your best defense is to make a big deal about it, so it's established that you made it first. I know there's some things on Etsy where somebody will copy what you've done and then tell Etsy that you are the copier and then get you taken down. It's a lot,
right?
That's not necessarily in 3D printing, but in art. And then it's just moving fast and keep moving. And so the people who copy, they don't have a mindset for entrepreneurship. They don't have a mindset for where should I go with this. They can only follow. And so you just got to keep being faster than they are.
And as of right now, the ones who have copied my stuff and literally are trying to sell it, they haven't sold any to date. I check them all the time. Like, it's, whenever I'm on Etsy and I'm my shop manager, I go to the favorited shops in my list, which are just people copying, using my file. Now, I did put it up there for people to use for themselves, but but the licensing on it is for profit. They're not allowed to. They're not supposed to, and they will anyways. I mean, the last reptile show I was at in Medina, the person next to me was selling 3D printed items, just toys essentially, but every single one of them had a licensing, like you could look it up online on thingiverse.com, and you're not supposed to profit off of these prints, but it just happens. It happens.
Well, I patented an invention of mine called Dragon Ledges, and it's an accessory that you can put on screen cages to where you can attach branches and potted plants. And even with a patent, people will still just blatantly copy it, and they'll just wait around to see if I'm serious about it, which I am, and I have a patent attorney. And
nice.
If they didn't take them down, I would have gotten kicked off of Etsy. So I can do stuff.
I've got Dragon Legends in all my my other cages. So just so everyone knows, those are awesome and they're well worth protecting.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh wow, Two-Tiered Tom's got some real 3D printed questions here.
All right, let's see. What are we asking? Different plastic types that are used. The print uses ABS, and I think it isn't as common as a filament material. This is way over my head, but I'm hoping Kris can help out.
So there are probably at least 300 plus different filaments you can run through a 3D printer. ABS is one of them. It's actually the second most common one that people print with. It is literally just that. It's ABS plastic extruded in 0.2 of a millimeter per layer stacked on top of each other, and a molten nozzle going across the print bed. I currently use a material called PLA Plus, which is polylactic acid. It has high tensile strength, just like ABS, but not as great as ABS. But I don't unless I step on it, it's not going to break. Like I have to really stomp on this to break it. ABS may not break. I haven't tested that. I do ABS printing as well, but the bulk I use is polylactic acid. Some people say it's biodegradable, but in like 400 years it's biodegradable. So I mean, yes and no, it's biodegradable.
Maybe not use it for tortoise then, but because they can live a couple hundred years. But
right. Whereas ABS
and lizards, probably snakes, not going to happen.
And then there's also PETG filament, which is a semi-translucent filament. So any color you print in kind of appears semi-translucent like glass. It is actually a food safe type filament. People print silverware plates with it. And there's that. But it's not as strong, and it does tend to UV wear, which means if you made a planter vase out of it and put some flowers in it and put it in the window, it would lose most of its color and go clear wherever the sun is directly hitting it after a period of a year or two. But I mean, I could go on for hours about all the different filaments, but those are like the three main common ones.
Color, or does it actually degrade in the sun, in the UV light?
It will completely bleach out to a white, opaque-ish type color, and it does become more brittle wherever it is more opaque. Now, if you were to squeeze on, like say it was a green one and part of it turned white, and you squeezed on the white part, it would cave in and then eventually crack off and break, whereas the other side wouldn't. And that's just the UV exposure.
Okay. Wow. Yeah, some of the things I bought have been UV things that say you don't use them in the UV light or whatever, don't put them in somewhere, but that's maybe they were 3D printed. I don't know. Bill, any other questions?
I'm wondering where you plan on what do you do to create, or what is your inspiration for creating products to do 3D printing? What do you follow to decide what you're going to do?
A lot of times I just talk to people. People ask me like, hey, is this possible? Can you make something like this? I'm like, yeah, I can do that. And I will model it and I will make it. The people who contact me for a custom design, I will send them the prototype for free. And if they say, hey, yeah, this works perfect, it becomes a product for my shop. So literally a lot of it comes down to listening to what people want and what people desire. I didn't personally think of the high hide mounts for the carpet pythons. It was a customer asking me to build a custom bracket to slide one of the Vivarium Electronics or the Pangea snake hide boxes so they could just slide it up into the top for their jungle carpet python. And that's why I made it. They asked. So
okay. And what software do you use?
I used two different software, Blender and Fusion 360.
Okay. And what is the advantage of one over the other?
Blender is also a full animation engine. I can fully animate just about any kind of cartoon if I wanted to through that, or 3D model, a walking figure. Whereas Fusion 360 is more of a model building program where I can just build a model from scratch. Now you can do that in Blender as well, but it's easier to import a model than it is to sit there and build it on your set up and then just go into like Fusion 360, which has hotkeys for certain what am I trying to say? Like different selections, to bevel the sides and stuff like that. I can just hit one button in Fusion 360 and it does it on all sides. Whereas in Blender, I've got to sit there and carve it, Okay. So I'll make them usually in Fusion 360 and I'll import them into Blender if I want to like add certain things like logos and stuff onto it. Because then I can use any script and text I want.
Wow.
All right. Because I just got my 3D printer.
What kind?
It's a Fireforge.
Oh, all right. Yeah, that's a nice one.
And I got some things that I want to do. And the thing is, I got an engineering degree, so I'm familiar with CAD programs.
Yes.
But I am unnaturally nervous about the whatever program I'm going to have to figure out. So, it's getting back into it.
Oh, so I'm not doing any 3D printing, but apparently True Tom is going to be looking for some. Bill's going to be doing some, but maybe I need to get into this whole thing. I'm not an engineer and I don't play one during the day, but how hard is this stuff? Is it something you could do without a degree and without
absolutely
software? Oh yeah,
absolutely.
The degree's not gonna.
yeah. Like when I went to college for my associate's degree, they had me take CAD 1 and CAD 2 just because I was following an engineering path. And I ended up only getting an applied sciences and physics degree out of all of that. And they said, now we're going to move you on to the next set, but I couldn't finish college. I had a kid.
Yeah. And I learned CAD on the job because when I got my degree, they actually had us with pencil and paper.
Oh man. Yeah, mine was all on draft.
I've been around a while, apparently.
Yeah, unfortunately, Bill and I are about the same ballpark age. So that's before
I don't
the
know.
internet.
I'm about to be 37 in 20 days.
Yeah, whatever.
All right. Yes, of course. Last week we had an 18-year-old on. So what? There's
whatever.
There's no accounting for, we were 3 times her age, but nonetheless. So Kris, Two Turtle Tom is asking, sees the 3D printers come way down. What's the cheapest 3D printer you'd recommend for the reptile hobbyist?
That's kind of like a trick question because it depends on what you want to do with the machine. For a reptile hobbyist to make their own, like say a hide similar to this one, I see a lot of people 3D printing these now, but this is vacuum formed, incredibly cheap and efficient versus 3D printing and very less time consuming. I can pump out probably, if I am not watching TV, about 50 of them in just about 25 minutes. I just pop down next, pop down next. I mean, constantly going. I'll trim them up later, but so it's not really worth it to print stuff like that. That can take to print something that size on a 3D printer is going to take you a day. And it's going to cost you about as much money as they sell for the vacuum formed ones. I mean, I sell mine for around $2.50, you know. I mean, it cost me less than 90 cents to make it. So
Two Turtle Tom's gotten a little off the topic. He says he's going to use the slide rule.
I have seen a slide rule, but I at least came in the era of the HP calculators.
Okay, yeah. All right. And so once again, Chuck Americone, I think it is his name, Chilcondros, says he loves your purchase. He uses them with all his neonates. I buy one for every customer I sell a snake to, as well as they thrive on them. So you got a big fan there, Kris. I don't know if you know him, but
Chuck actually contacted me a while back, and I was selling these 6x10 perch mounts, and he goes, "Will they fit in a 6-quart container for Sterilite?" And I was like, "Yes, they do, but only certain ones, because the 6-quart containers changed over time. The newer ones are actually a little bit narrower." So I sent him one. It didn't fit, and he was about to have babies hatch like any day, and he was going to need perch mounts for them. So I scaled it down. I went out and bought the newer 6-quart Sterilite tub. So I scaled down my design. I printed as many as I could, as fast as I could, and then got out there. That just became another product for me to sell. And Chuck helped me out there. And then he contacted me. He was like, "Hey man, we do this live stream called the Chondro Bar Room every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. Eastern time. You know, would you like to come on and talk about, you know, your stuff and you know, become a sponsor for the show?" And I started doing that, and it's a really fun time. It's just a bunch of guys talking about their green tree python.
So what's that called again?
The Chondro Bar Room.
And what is that on?
It's an Instagram live. They're looking to be moving to YouTube. But if you follow Chill Chondros or Windy City, oh shoot, he's gonna kill me because I can't remember his Instagram tag. But or Mongrel Reptiles on Instagram. Tuesday nights, 10 p.m. Eastern time. We just live stream, have a few beers, and
awful late, huh? Yeah.
Talk green tree pythons. Well,
I mean, I'm a night owl, so I would be up for that anyway. But you know,
wait a minute, did you just talk about blue tree monitors?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, yes, okay. Yeah, I was on that. I was watching you guys.
Yeah, I'm the sponsor for that show. That's the link that they pin at the bottom is me.
All right.
And I think they actually had to restart it for me Tuesday, because all of a sudden I couldn't get back into the live stream at all. And I called Chuck. I was like, "What's going on? There's like, it's not live anymore." He's like, "We're live right now, dude." I was all like, "Oh man, it's not letting," like, I was just like, I couldn't see it on my screen at all. I could not access it. So they actually stopped it and restarted it so I could show back up. And they're a bunch of great guys. Chuck just produced some amazing arroos. Yeah, he's a great guy all around. We literally talk on the phone every couple of days. And he's always giving me new ideas to make stuff. So it's like a win-win situation.
It appears that once again, Bill, the reptile community is like 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon. I think you were doing a live the other night and we're talking about, someone said, "Why do all these same people come on? And why are they all It's because they're interesting people, and we find them in different ways. But we're not a tightly knit community, but we're a big community, and we find each other. So it's interesting that you were able to watch that show and that you were able to comment on from it. But wow, that's interesting. So I guess I'll have to watch it. 10 p.m. on Tuesdays, huh?
Yep, 10 p.m. Eastern time.
All right, Eastern time. So for Bill, that's only, what is that? That's like
7 o'clock. Right? I'm good.
Yeah, he's good.
Yeah, I believe Travis is in Texas and Keno is in Chicago. So to them, it's earlier. But for me and Chuck, it's 10 o'clock.
What do you got there, Kris?
This isn't a Rue Bayak yearling. She's a nice little girl. I think she's a F2 generation. I don't quite remember right now. I had her over here on the perch, and that's why I have her out right now.
No, it's cool. It's a reptile show. This is the reptile show reporter. It used to be called Exotic Pet Adventures. So, and I was talking about going to a reptile room earlier today. So that's a cool thing.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about them?
So she is, she was born from a wild caught Aru to a wild caught Byak female. So no, she's a F1 generation, captive bred and born. I picked her up from a breeder in Cincinnati, Ohio. His name is Mark Jones, and she's just a fantastic animal. For like, usually green tree pythons, you can't really handle them that much, you know. They can be kind of feisty, but she is well socialized, and she doesn't seem to have much of a problem with being held.
Wow. Is that something you're going to be selling at the next show, or is that a pet for you?
Well, she is technically for sale, but I put that price on her, you know, that just kind of says, if you're willing to give me the money.
Be careful. I had quadricornis and I priced them so high that I didn't think anyone would purchase it, and I sold out. And it was like, and unfortunately, I regret it because I lost one of my females and I can't make them anymore. But so it's a sad story. But it was a year or two later that it happened. But I was hoarding all of them, and I put a big huge price on them, triple what anyone had ever paid me for them, and someone bought them. And so it was like, I mean, it was good at the time, but I'm like, looking back, I'm like, I would give more than that to get them back. But
yes,
because you just can't get those from anywhere because they're CITES rules and regulations and what have you. But okay, all right.
Well, Tom's got an interesting question there about can you make a vacuum mold hide at home? Do you make your own thermal?
Yes, I do. There is a machine you can buy on Amazon for $750, and you can do a 16 by 16 inch mold. So yeah,
make things smaller than that, or is that the maximum size for that, or
that's the maximum size? So like, you could actually fill the entire film plate with whatever you want, individual small items if you wanted to, and then when you vacuum mold it, and then you take out your pieces, you just cut them out in the size you need and the shape.
Wow. Okay. So Chuck is telling you not to tempt him because he'll buy a fifth. So I guess Chuck will beat me to that one. I don't know. My wife loves green tree pythons, but she doesn't want one in the house because they're scary to her. But she loves to look at them. So I don't know what that means.
They're great display animals. Right. Like, these are actually green trees behind
Amazon me. Emerald tree boa, Amazon basin.
Yes,
that's what she wants. Corrals batesii. That's what she wants.
Yes.
And aren't they $1 billion, Bill, if they're captive bred or what have you? Or
we'll talk to Kris. He apparently has them.
Okay. So this is a bad story. This is when there was a certain importer, I think in Florida, who was getting poached Amazons out of the Amazon. So they were getting Amazon basin emerald tree boas, Corals batesii, illegally brought into the United States. They're not allowed to legally be brought in and imported in any way, shape, or form. I don't know how he was doing it, but he was doing it. And he assured me that they were captive bred and born. I had paired my, what is now we call an IMG, Amazon basin emerald tree boa male that I'd gotten from Ed Marino, to this adult female barbed wire that was captive bred and born, for a dirt cheap price. It was too cheap to be what it said it was, but it really was an Amazon basin. And when I bred them together, because she seemed fine through quarantine, absolutely fine. She fed, she was doing great. And when I bred her with my IMG basin from Ed Marino, after that, she started regurgitating food. And then he started regurgitating food very quickly after that.
Oh,
And
man.
then I had bought these snakes as a pair. I paid $2,500 for 2 adult Amazon basins from somebody in Florida. That should have been a red flag to me, but they were legitimate Amazon basins. And it spread like wildfire. So I no longer have any emerald tree boas whatsoever, or even the Amazons.
So you paid the price for the low. You paid a big price for getting something cheap. Wow.
Right, exactly. And that happened over the pandemic. So I haven't been selling it. So in 2018, when I filed my taxes, and they come back at me in 2000, I filed my 2018 taxes in 2019. They came back to me saying that this has now got to be considered an LLC. I had to redo my taxes and everything just because it was an obscene amount of money. And that's when I started going full time. But I used some of that money to buy this really cheap pair of Amazon. Oops.
Yeti down.
Yeah.
I knocked down my microphone just a few minutes ago, but my microphone's cheap, so I didn't care. But
yeah, those 2 snakes that seemed to be symptom free for 3 months. This is before a lot of the testing, like it was like not mandatory testing for arenavirus or cryptosporidium or anything like that, especially when somebody was selling you allegedly US captive bred and born Amazon basins. Ed's, his was perfectly fine until I introduced it to that female, and then both went down, and it spread. It killed everything. Even my Amazon tree boas, not even the emeralds, the Corellus caneus and the Corellus bastiles. I had to call every single one. That even if they started showing symptoms, gone. 25 snakes I lost.
So Two Turtle Tom is telling us that many unscrupulous importers took advantage of the pandemic. It hit the turtles and tortoise world as well. So a lot of people were so don't feel alone. You're not the only one who was taken advantage of during the pandemic, for other reasons than all the other the illness and such. But it's wow, it was a bad time.
Yeah, there's actually a flower garden in my backyard right now, which is the Amazon basin graveyard of all 25 snakes. It's just bad.
25 snakes. Holy mackerel.
Well, when I first started breeding them, I kept most of them back. So I didn't, I wanted to see them grow up. And if I didn't like it, I sold it, but I liked a lot. So, and then
I know that feeling.
In 2018, that was the first year I let go 28 snakes, and that amount of money, the government got involved.
28 Amazon basins.
Yes, Amazon basins.
Yeah, the government's going to notice that.
Yeah, exactly. And
I
was just trying to play it off like dumb, like I don't know, man. I didn't realize that was too much,
What is an Amazon basin run?
Right now between 4,500 to 16,000. 20,000 if you want like alien head snowflake.
Wow. Right. I guess I got to hit the lottery again and start playing it. I don't know. I keep my taste keeps getting more and more expensive. Probably because Bill keeps tricking me into getting things that I did that I love, but that I really have no business buying.
I'm working really hard at giving Sean all those opportunities.
He's that little red guy on my shoulder telling me about stuff that might be coming in or that I should be thinking about. And unfortunately, there's probably another little redhead guy on the other shoulder. There's nobody there. My wife is in the background, not tonight, but normally shouting, "Wait, what are you doing?" But I can't hear it over the 2 guys in my ears.
Right.
All right. So we don't have any other comments that we haven't shared today. Any final thoughts, Bill? Or actually, let's talk Kris. Any final thoughts that you have?
You can check me out on Etsy, iNaBoX 3D. Animals on Morph Market under Sandusky Serpents, because that's what I sell my animals under. And my eBay is also Sandusky Serpents on eBay.
So are you out of Sandusky, Ohio, or
Yeah,
So
I grew up here. I was born and raised here, essentially. We have Cedar Point as our back pocket. So
yeah, that's the roller coast. That's where everybody
Yep.
goes. That's the greatest the greatest reptile. Yes, the reptile, the greatest what do you call it? Roller coaster place in the planet, at least multiple times running. I think it's kind of lost its position to other places. But
yeah, Japan took him out last year for that.
yeah, well, yeah, and Two Turtle Tom says go Cedar Point because Two Turtle Tom's from the same area, so from Ohio, not really near Sandusky. But anyways, okay, Bill, back to your point, your situation or your thoughts on this whole thing.
Oh, I just think it's great and it's exciting, and it's a great example of how we in the reptile community can take charge of what we need. It's not profitable for these large companies, ZoomEd, Exoterra, to make things specifically for a specialized niche, and that falls to us. And with 3D printing, we can, if we love flying geckos. Nobody's going to make a product for flying geckos except you. You love flying geckos. You can make anything you want with 3D printers. So I think it's 3D printing is just the start of us taking our loves and our of our niche reptiles and taking it to the next level. I'm really excited for where we're going forward as a community because of 3D printing.
Wow. All right, I can't say it any better than that, Bill. Kris, any final thoughts? Final thoughts?
and what it really comes down to is a lot of people into the reptile community just asking, I need this, or this would be nice. And I buy from other creators too. The perches that are currently inside these green tree cages, I bought from guy on Instagram, Recon Arboreals, and these are fantastic. They're PVC perches and they're burned and twisted to look like an actual branch versus just a white PVC pipe. They're amazing.
We got an offer from Chuck as well. $100 at 3D iNaBoX 3D, and you'll receive $100 off any green tree python purchased through Chill Chondro. So I guess I need to go think about this. I want to put it up so I can remember, so I can look back into the show and see what it was said. But yipes. This is leading me down two paths where I'm going to spend a whole lot of money. Maybe I shouldn't have had this show.
Right. That's how it was.
I was at Clint's Reptile thing. I should have just headed on east back home instead of having this show. But now I've gone and done it and put myself in a position where money is going to be flying out of my wallet. I'm going to have to get a second job or a third job now. But all right, so we've been going on for almost an hour now. I thank both of you. Thank you, Kris. Thanks once again, Bill. And we'll see you next week on Thursday night. Topic still yet to be decided, but we've got a lot of things to talk about. So even if we don't have a topic, we can always talk about Clint's reptile room, which is I've got all kinds of videos and things. I'll be sharing those on Instagram and Facebook, as well as YouTube with shorts and what have you. So he gave me permission to share away. So I've got tons and tons, like a couple hours worth of videos. So look forward to that. Good night, everyone.
All right.